Peace, world. How you doing? It's your brother Mikey Fever. Welcome back to another episode of NYP Talk Show. It's been a while. Miss you all. Hope all is well. Peace and blessings to all. Wow, tonight's going to be a great show. We're about to learn a lot about the Rastafarian movement in America, and we have a special guest tonight, our brother Ras Daniel. Take it away, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, give thanks, my brother. Yes, sir. Grateful to be here. Yes, sir. Grateful to, spread the love, spread the info, and just, be used as a vehicle tonight to kind of, bridge some gaps I think has been needed amongst us, because culture's lost. So I want to give thanks for our ancestors, all the ones in all our bloodlines, you know what I mean, that, paved the way for us to be here. The Ethiopians specifically on this night, which is a huge influence to talking about Rastafarianism and just the fighting for colored people, fighting against colonialism, fighting just for sovereignty. And all the ones willing to fight here, because we knew that we was one at one point. We was ready to go. We was ready to get up and go join the fight. They had to create laws to stop us, actually. You know what I'm saying? We're putting money together. You know what I mean? Malcolm X's father got killed talking about Ethiopia. Look it up. They just showed it on the plaque. They just say his father was, killed. But go look up what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Up in Detroit. He was leading the cause, getting money for Ethiopia, putting things together for Ethiopia. You know what I mean? So Martin Luther King father down in Georgia, working, same causes. So, give thanks for all the ones that was willing to fight here, all the ones that already knew the unity, before we had to speak on it. And just for all my Ross elders, all the Rasta elders in general, but even my Rasta elders in my life, Minister Ras Lazarus, Chaplain Umdi Zion, Nagus Kamal, all my brethren, Raz Isis and Congo Isis in Atlanta. Just a lot of the brethren that, fuel me and give me the knowledge, because it's some stuff I could share possibly tonight here that I got brethren that was researching in the early 2000s and archived through newspapers and found it on accident. Travel 4 hours to Texas to look in their newspaper room and stumble across some information in 2004. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Some of this stuff is real. You know what I mean? And it's like that because they don't want us to know. If they made me hate you, it made me hate people. At the end of the day, we worry about fighting each other. We're not even fighting the fight. So
that's a fact. That colonialism at its finest. So, brother Ross Daniel, if you give a little background to the people, like to introduce you to our platform. Thank you again for coming on the show. Yes, give us a little brief description, brother. Where you from? Give us a quick 2 or 3 minute rundown.
Okay. Yes, sir. Well, I was born in Fort Lauderdale. I kind of came up in South Florida. My mom, my dad's side is in Fort Lauderdale. Mom's side is in like Delray Beach, kind of that area. So that was kind of my early roots. And then after my little brother passed when I was like 6, and then we moved up to Savannah. Then my dad's real homeland where he grew up at, because his father was really from Florida. And then just back and forth from Savannah and South Florida was kind of my roots, And after my father and my mother had some hardship, my mother kind of found a place in Savannah, and we kind of grew up in like Savannah for real. So Savannah people sometimes you still call me Florida. Florida always called me Savannah. You feel me? So that's really where it's at. And I grew up doing capoeira, just little stuff that just was regular because it was right there by the projects. My auntie come take us to the AME church. We in the choir, I'm performing capoeira, singing Been Bows down at the river, So this kind of some of my early roots, just being kind of mixed culture, being from South Florida, and just kind of having different things influencing me in my mind. Besides just the traditional school, of course, was getting on and what the projects had to offer, which of course is a lot of, stuff that they put in our face to have us in perpetuating cycles.
Got you. So you did capoeira growing up. That's dope, brother.
Yes,
that's that Brazilian you was moving around throwing those kicks and dancing. That's peace, bro.
I love the music more than anything.
Huh?
I love the music more than anything.
I know. It hits the heart. Like it touches that African side. I like that, my brother. So, being that we have you talking about Rastafari, and we want to bring our listeners and viewers up to date for those who may not understand what that is, to introduce them to what Rastafarianism. So tell us, what is Rastafarianism, bro?
Well, I'm gonna say, like I said, and I want all information to be from the eyes and the mindset of a study, of a learner. Not that I know all truth, not that I'm here to give the perfect definition, right? Because
got you.
That's the mysticism behind Rastafarianism anyway. Because even me coming into Rastafarianism, my journey along, along being Rasta, has its own journey. Because like I said, growing up and me kind of with Auntie, Mom Dukes, we ain't really did all that in the house. So I didn't really have like a true sense of, we say Ira instead of spirit. I didn't have a true Irish foundation, until I was 18. And bro, God talked to me in my head. You feel me? I got my first job. I'm trying to clean up my life in the streets a little bit. And I hear a voice. They was telling me about the dishes and all this. And once they left me there, it was a dishwashing job at this it was a soul food restaurant, Sisters of the New South. And he started telling me what dishes to wash first. The big ones is your big problems. The little ones is your little problems. And I thought I was tripping. I kept going to the bathroom, looking at myself in the eyes, like, what's going on? And every time
Symbology.
something would happen. Dishes fall. I drop oil all over the floor. It's like, look, this real. So, and different experiences. But I just say that to say, I know what God is. So a lot of people, when it comes to understanding Rastafarianism, we look at it as the Bible was God and then God stopped. And it's just like God didn't stop. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think that's the essence of, is like the breaking those type of mindsets sometimes to really understand what Rastafarianism is. So, it's Rastafarianism to me. I seen something recently. It's like, it made me really understand how it came into my heart so much, because Rastafarianism represents all religions. Truthfully, there's an aspect of it that represents. Oh, that's why one love is like the key statement. You understand? So it's a mysticism behind. It's like you eating good, you living right, you living righteous. You know what I'm saying? You natural man. You understanding certain essences about your connection to nature and your connection to self. Because when you look at Igbo, when you look at these different things, that's part of different genetic fragments of ourselves. Understanding that nature and understanding that us is symbiotic through our language. That's why they say the writing system, all this is cursing us, because our language is used to look like symbols, which reminded us of nature. You understand? So it's just like we have to understand that Rastafarianism is an invitation back to that, and in the structural aspect of it, where we amplify the Most High, and through Kidamari Haile Selassie, people get lost in that because they get lost in understanding the Most High in themselves. You see what I'm saying? So we look at ourselves as because what happened is I was Israelite. Hebrew Israelite. After a year, I found God for myself in my own capacity. In my lower 20s, I was Baptist. I was AME. You see what I'm saying? And then when my pastor died when I was about 25, so my pastor was Pastor Tyson, long live Pastor Tyson here in Savannah, Georgia. When he passed, he was such a powerful messenger. It was hurtful. He was in his mid 40s and nobody knew he had lupus. You know what I'm saying? So it was such power struck the community, black community, so hard, because he was raw. You go touch, I don't care what religion you was. You could go back to being Islam after this Sunday, but you gonna feel something tonight. That was Pastor Tyson. So when he died, it was like we started, and me personally, but I think a lot of us realized that his message was, it's the God in you. That is not me. I'm just a pastor. You know what I'm saying? And that was the key awakening. I became Hebrew Israelite after that. And then I wasn't Hebrew Israelite long, but this is how I learned a lot about just about the bloodlineage and the lineages of the Bible and just different things, you know what I'm saying? Understanding the tribes and certain stuff. And then I went Bibleless because I went bookless. I'm like, look, I'm nature, I'm natural. I ain't know nothing. I'm colonized. You feel? I'm from the projects. I'm trying to find myself. So, I'm natural. I'm like, look, I'm shedding books. I'm shedding the Bible. I'm spiritual. I'm Irish, at the time, spiritual. You know what I'm saying?
I respect that.
Myself, I'm from the hood. I started eating mushrooms. I ain't gonna tell the truth. You feel me? I started experiencing myself spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So I went through a process, brother. And then Rastafarianism was being taught to me. I didn't even know from my elder. He was just giving me. He was teaching me about nature. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I remember one day I read, because we don't deal with no bugs and being outside and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely the environment.
I'm out with my partners, and this talking to elder, you know, Rasta man. I don't know Rasta yet. I didn't remember Rasta, just never name that came to me yet. You see what I'm saying? Just know he got locks, elder brethren that my partners took me out with out there on nature. We out on the mounds, on the indigenous mounds. He talking all this indigenous language and all this about Turtle Island and America and all this. All of a sudden, bees landing on me, and I'm like, oh, and it's like, oh, I feel it. I get it. He say it was my first time being taught about having a download. You feel me? I'm a system. I'm a computer. What was happening was he was turning on my Wi-Fi. So I'm downloading information and I'm becoming the God that I am. So as this process happens and I'm going through this, I remember it was a few years later, 2-3 years into this, when he snipped it out one time. I just heard Rastafari, and I don't ask a lot of questions like that. I'm humble. I just heard something. I'm like, hold up, it's been a couple years and I ain't heard a name to all these teachings yet. I just been freelancing and hear little stuff in there, hear this stuff in there. And I remember when I first heard Rastafari, it was like, boom, I'm going to figure that out. And then I came and presented myself with information to my elder. And then that's when the stuff started unraveling. And then your world started building itself. You know what I mean? Because it was a lot. It was, like I say, I'm trying to search. I'm coming from colonized mindset. We start hearing about self-determination. We start hearing about sovereignty. We start hearing about status correction. You know what I'm saying? We start finding the mounds. We start going through a lot of this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. That happens to all of us. Yeah. And that cut your wisdom, but it did happen to us. But I don't want to say, like, as they put it, like those outside of more science, simple teaching, that sovereignty and land patents and all that stuff. And as you mentioned, determination.
They got no tags on their car.
Yeah.
It's like a 10-15 year process.
Yeah, exactly. That right there. And then what you mentioned with your pastor, may he rest in peace, that, what he was teaching is awakening the God in you. Because they always say, greater is he that's in the world. What I forgot that quote, but I know where I'm going from with that.
Me. Yes,
yeah. So basically, and he said that was all part of the process of you going into Rastafarianism. Because I've been around Rastas, and it's like, as you say, it's a mystique about it. Like you're seeking it, but it will find you. You won't find it, but it will find you when the time comes. So I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you said that, because you said you couldn't put a name to it at first. Things was falling. That's why, like, the symbology behind it. You're like, what's going on? Like, what was it? So that's dope right there. So when you got your first teaching of Rastafarianism, like from the elder that came out of nowhere, you said, and was took you into nature, right? To tell you, like, was that a sign of basically like stripping you of like worldly things? Like, all right, all that don't matter. It's you and this nature right now. That's what it felt like at that moment.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. But it felt like an awakening. That's what it felt like. It felt like sun rays. It felt like, you know what I mean, your world opens up. It's, when you get new information, you've been changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a reset, and that's what it felt like. It was, like I say, it's empowering, because when you don't have that, it's like, that's why they say we drowning, basically. You know what I mean? We drowning. We in fight or flight. You drowning, and I ask you, and then we pull you out later. You drank some water. You was really about to go, and then later we ask you what color the house was on the land. You're like, what house? What color the boat was? Well, I ain't even know. I ain't seen nothing till you know what I'm saying, because you was drowning.
Yeah.
A lot of us, we got to understand, when we come from that mindset. That's why I felt called to really represent this platform and this topic, because it was a shift into getting into that mindset. And I think a lot of folks want to skip that when they start interpreting Rastafarianism, coming from, like I said, a lot of places that may be similar to where I came from.
No, it's a fact. No, I'm glad you mentioned that as far as your journey, and you're going step by step. So you got into Rastafarianism from the elder. Did he provide you with any books to read in the beginning, or what books to go seek out, or any surprises? Yeah.
In the beginning, especially, like I said, once I started, really, we had a name to it, and then it was like I learned about His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I. So it started with, his words, the words of His Majesty. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we need to hear someone that talk for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of times when you hear people talk in the world stage, and they talk, it don't sound like it's for us. You know what I'm saying? And then when you listen to words of somebody that had world influence, And when they talk, you like, I can tell he had my back. You see what I'm saying? I could tell he cared about that little nation that you don't know about or whatever's going on. He cared about their sovereignty. I didn't even know people cared about people's sovereignty when it comes to national interest, international interest. So, you know, this became my thing at first, which really kind of led me into it because I'm a historian type of guy. So the words of His Majesty was a lot of things first, but you know, a lot of the information was being given, and it'd be like, here's the specific information. Let me know when you got questions. And that's really a lot how I figure a lot of things out, bro. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because now I know it for myself. I don't need nobody to know it for me. You know what I'm saying? I know it for myself. So that's how I received a lot of my information. Just, you know, here it is. Here's the exact name. Pull your phone out, right? Like he'll do it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Pull it out, write it down, get it right. Make sure you spell it correctly. You know what I'm saying? Next time I see you, you should know more. And then we can go from there. You know what I'm saying?
I see what he did. All right, got you. That's how it's supposed to be. Like you go seek, you go pave your path. Here's the tools. You pave your path and to get back to me because basically conversation would change later down the line. You start asking different questions. A lot of it. So that's why Rastas tend to say understanding a lot. It's like, yo, you must understand.
I can't hear you nothing. You feel me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the night, that's the reason why we're in the situation we're in now. But colonialism. Wanna know why? Because they do everything for us. They provide us our food. They provide us our health care. They provide us our. So we in a ask for a state and we don't know it. So when somebody asks you to go do your own work, you feel offended. And see, that's why I appreciate the process of the elders. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, that to me, all these things, I affirmed that I was in the right place because nothing should come to me easy, and I didn't grow up like that. You know what I mean? A lot of us want our spirituality to be easy. We want our religion to feel safe, and it's just like that's not always the case. And I understand a lot of us are deeply rooted in where we come from. You know what I mean? I have a specific background as me, so you know what I mean. But it's hard when you're trying to learn something like Rastafarianism because immediately when I start telling you specifics, it go against what you know now. You know what I'm saying? So that's why that's why I understand my elder because one thing main thing he would say is you can't go for nobody Jesus. You see what I'm saying? And that's just a general statement. You know what I'm saying? So no need to be specific. Excuse me if anyone, you know what I mean? But like I say, but you can't go for nobody's highest point. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why, you know, understanding the ethics and the means of being Rastafari was the first aspect for me. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff, though, you know, I can get into some specifics, though, like some of the stuff, maybe like a little background, you know what I mean? Some of the little history, you know what I mean? That go like that. Because, like I said, this is me being a historian. That's how I get involved with that now. And I'm like, okay, boom, 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 boom. I start putting pieces together. You feel me?
Yeah, definitely. So, can you don't mind dropping that?
Oh yeah. So I in a kind of a personal way, right? I grew up in the Yamacraw projects here in Savannah, Georgia, and the Yamacraw Indians, they would like break off from Yamasees, right? And they kind of was like what helped they got a plaque downtown Savannah where it says that they formed Georgia together, and then they redid it like 2-3 years ago, and now they saying he was an ally of James Oglethorpe that built Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So we take that with a grain of salt, even from the one they used to have. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. So there's a church right down the projects. It's dang, I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's in Yamacraw. Everybody know it. It's right across the street from Building 100 in the front, right by the big field. I looked up the history because I was in New York, man, and a brother just happened to say that there was a church called the Ethiopian Church in Savannah. And when I looked up the history of that church, it took me there. I grew up across the street. That church used to take us on horseback riding. You know what I'm saying? I grew up across the street from that church. And in the 1700s, it was the Ethiopian Church.
It's funny because we do have one in New York in Harlem. But yeah, go ahead.
Ethiopian Church, you know, in the 1700s. You know what I'm saying? So just some little stuff, but it's just funny how it tied to me because, you know, a lot of talk about my indigenous roots and stuff like that. But, you know, I grew up on indigenous land with an Ethiopian church on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, think about this. But when the brother, You know what I'm saying? The brother gave me some information, and then so I had went and looked it up myself and found the church and found the location of it, because he was just a North Carolina brother talking, and I didn't really get a chance to build with him. On the way to finding that information, there's another church right up the street, the First African Baptist Church here in Savannah, that at first I thought that was the church he was talking about, because I know he said downtown Savannah. I didn't know he was talking about the one in the projects.
Yeah.
And that church, when I was looking up their history, they had a large voyage of people from Savannah that voyaged to Jamaica in the 1700s to run from the stuff that was happening over here. So I had found that information on accident. Like, so, you know, we talk about Rastafari being a Jamaican thing, and then we in Savannah, but it's just like, bro, we don't know. You feel me? We've been going like this.
Yeah.
See, they have us thinking we was in the slave state. They don't think we could rack up on a boat ourselves and say, let's get up out of here and go to Jamaica. See, they don't make us think that we was moving like that in the 1700s. But we was.
Which we were. You know, a lot of our people were navigating the seas before.
So how I know I ain't got people in Jamaica? How I know I ain't my people from Jamaica? You see what I'm saying? Because we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And then another aspect of the history, this is just like the off information, you know what I'm saying? Just
I gotta drop that.
Other Americans, other people that got similar things can understand how this information's already been around you. You see what I'm saying? So up in New York, they got the Abyssinian Baptist Church, founded in 1808. Abyssinian Baptist Church, 1808. You look up the history of it, they'll tell you it was started by black folks that left the Baptist Church and some Ethiopian civilians or something like that. I forgot how they worded it. Ethiopian, just regular Ethiopians is just over here. 1808. What is regular Ethiopians doing here in 1808? Just starting churches with black folks in Harlem. You see what I'm saying?
I like that. I see what you.
What's happening here? Why? See, they're not thinking that we moving. See, we think 1808. We think we walk around. I was working on the railroad. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not thinking we was already having intermingling with trade and other things going on. You got Ethiopian civilians like, man, come on with us. You see what I'm saying? So, boom, to kind of get into some Rastafari history. Some of the stuff in the early, and like I said, some of the stuff is early on as far as the development of the exact word, because Rastafari comes from Ras Tafari Makonnen, born Tafari Makonnen. Okay. Yeah. So that prophecy, Ras is actually the title Prince. So Rastafari is kind of coming from that aspect, where it's not kind of, that's exactly where it's coming from. So this is all from he was born in 1882, excuse me. This is all coming from that time forward, that there can even be a specific as far as Rastafari, but I know there's a lot of fusion there because we talk about it being ancient, and it is ancient. And like I said, you know, we might not get into all that today, but you know what I'm saying, just some of the specifics of the name, but I know there's people can find confusion in that, fusion in that, because a lot of people hear that it's an ancient thing, and it is. But the specific of what Rastafari starts with a name of His Imperial Majesty when he was born, Ras Tafari Makonnen, and then he became Ras around like, now I want to say 1916, and I apologize if I'm wrong for that year, but very close. He became Rastafari, and one of the first things he did when he became Rastafari was he sent a mission of Ethiopians over here to renew a treaty, because in 1896, when he was 4, Ethiopia beat Italy. So you gotta understand, well, just a little back history real quick. The Berlin Conference, that's the scramble for Africa. That already went down, I think, like the 1870s or whatever. So they already scrambling for Africa, taking over all of Africa. In 1892 and 1890, Ethiopia in that aspect, I don't know exactly how many at that point in time, how much of Africa they got conquered at that point in time, but I know they lost to Ethiopia in 1896. Yeah. So this gives Ethiopia, when you read the historic archives, this gives Ethiopia the respect of an anomaly on this world. I think only like India, Japan, and like 3 other places was like the anomaly of like saying you're not colonized on this earth. You see what I'm saying? Ethiopia being the only black one. You feel me? Yeah. So, and even in the archives, they say they immediately, because white folks couldn't process it. This all, you find this yourself. They couldn't process it because before, Ethiopians, just like every other Africans that they were killing and taking over, were dirty, nasty, this, that, and the third. But once they lost, in the history, they said all of a sudden they became clean. They became brothers of the whites. Because a lot of people get it confused when they see some of the history. They be like, oh, them boys was white, and they was this and they was that. them folks gave you that history because they was trying to protect their own image. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So don't get lost in the propaganda there. But yeah, so that you can look it up. If you look up the victory of Adwa, ADWA, in 1896,
Okay.
and the effects, you type it in Google, AI, whatever, and the effects on Pan-Africanism,
Yeah.
that's like the number one thing that happened because we were getting our butts whooped across the world at that point in time. In 1896, a lot of Africa's already conquered. You know what's going on in America.
Yeah.
A place for a black man to go in 1896 and not have it be somewhere you don't want to be was very bad for you. You feel me? So this was our number one source of strength and re-encouragement that there's something good happening with us spiritually, physically, and a lot of times we're lost from that essence, which is why people don't understand Rastafarianism.
Got you. Got
A
you.
lot of us only know we're only looking for spiritual truth. We're not looking for physical truth. See, we're not looking for a living God in ourselves or in the world. That's the reason why most of us can live a life that doesn't truly represent what we say we believe in. You know what I mean? Because we don't, a lot of, and I'm not going to speak on religions, but a lot of us are known in certain religions to be like, man, if you put me in a house with a bunch of religious people from most of the religions that we know, would you trust them? Would you be able to leave him? You see what I'm saying? So it's just like we have to understand that. I guarantee you, if you chose out of 10 religions, what somebody you would trust, and it did a lot of people, and anybody that know a Rasta man, probably pick that Rasta man. You see what I'm saying? They'd be like, you know, that Rasta man might make sure my money get back to me. Out of all the people I know, you know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that there's a certain truth and a certain living truth that what we have to know. So yeah, that victory there in 1896 was a lot. But so he was 4. And see, a lot. One of the biblical prophecies in that is if you look up Revelations, they said, I think the way they counted the days, if you add, I think it's like 1,000 or something, and when you divide it, it's like 3.5 years that they said they would see a star and that they would go try to get the child. You see what I'm saying? And if you do the math, that's how old His Imperial Majesty was around that
Yeah.
time. And there's
Yeah.
there's a couple prophecies out there that when they were coming, they were killing all the firstborn sons because they was observing that star, and because they doing sorcery on us. They're watching us. They trying to
Yeah.
find and know when we're coming. That's why they already know the next Malcolm. They already know. That's why they're getting our soles of our feet. They're doing that. They're doing astronomy. They know these things. They're watching the stars. They've been studying and watching the stars because they understand our knowledge has always been star knowledge.
Yo, you're going deep on it. You see where you're taking it? Some
This
people
is
are not ready for that
Rastafarianism.
conversation.
His,
They're not
his
ready for that
Imperial
conversation.
Majesty is born on the Sirius B star. So, and he becomes a king. So he's a star king. I don't care if you're from America, Africa, or somewhere. Your prophecy starts with a star king. You understand?
All of it, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what people say. Oh, he's a Christian leader, the Christian church and all these aspects. Star king. You understand? That came to enlighten the melanated beings on this earth of their truth, their light, and their power here in this present time. Because we were being downtrodden as a people. Everybody said we was under the curse and all this. And okay, if you start really paying attention when that reversed, then you start really understanding why Ethiopia is so important in this time, because it's been important.
All right. I'm glad that you gave us a lot, brother. And it was very, for those who not comprehending, who are unafraid, who can't comprehend. The brother went deep on y'all. I need to do your research. Go study, as he said, Ethiopia, King Menelik. Just go study that. And the Marcus Garvey movement, because that alludes to that as well.
Yeah. Marcus Garvey had a lot to do with a lot of Pan-Africanism and even Ethiopianism at one point in time. I know at the end, Marcus Garvey was upset with His Imperial Majesty. That was like right around the time. I think he died a few years later. But he was upset with His Imperial Majesty when His Imperial Majesty got out of Africa, got out of Ethiopia in the war, and he got to Bath, and he got to London, and Marcus Garvey came to see him, and he didn't see him. He didn't see nobody actually. But Marcus Garvey got upset about that and ended up calling him a coward and other things, and kind of turned his back on kind of that Ethiopian aspect and stayed Pan-African, of course, for a few more years. But that's kind of the end of that. And there's different information about some of that stuff, and I understand it. So Marcus Garvey, long live the God. You know what I mean? At the end of the light, some of this truth is for a different communication. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we got different pioneers and leaders right here that was here from America. You got Nathaniel Huggins. He got killed behind the name of His Imperial Majesty, just like Malcolm X's father. He went and spoke before His Imperial Majesty at the League of Nations.
And
went and spoke because when he went out there, he went and represented like the League, American Colored League or something like that. He went out there representing. He was teaching this stuff in New York. He was the one that got African American and African like history, Afro American history into the books up there.
Name again? Nathan Higgins.
Huggins.
Nathaniel Huggins.
It's Willis Nathaniel Huggins.
All right, trust me, I'm copying that right now.
Huggins, you'll find it easier.
That's dope. See, I didn't know that. Thank you for.
Yeah, he in New York, and then you can look up also Rabbi Arnold Ford. He was in New York, and he pushed the movement for a lot up there. And he actually was the Black Jews of Harlem, of Harlem, Rabbi Ford, and so him, the Black Jews of Harlem, Black Christians walking around with a picture of His Imperial Majesty, all religions. I got the picture on the archives. I got it on my TikTok somewhere. All of them. See, religion didn't prevent us from coming together, is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. So now it's like, oh, you Islam, you Christian, you Rasta, and now we feel divided. But at one point, we understand there was one power, there was one source of sovereignty, and His Imperial Majesty said it at a point in time that was critical. He said, I'm not only the Emperor of Africa, I'm the King of all Negroes worldwide, even though it's in America. So this was a see, we gotta understand a sovereign notice. I seen somebody was posting about way later in his life when he went to go to the Vatican, right? He went to the Vatican dressed with a sword, holding the sword and all. I'm like, bro, you can't even go in a basketball game with a knife. You see what I'm saying? Going to the Pope, sitting next to the Pope with your sword on you, yielding your sword is a statement. You see what I'm saying? That's declaring your sovereignty on this earth. You can go wherever you want and do what you want. You see, people don't understand that's the power that was given us. That's why building the African League, the AOU, African Organizational Union, something like that, AOU, in 1963. That's important because now you're giving other African leaders a place because you a world leader. You a world figure at this point. At that point, he's already a world figure, but you're giving other African leaders. It's another one called Bang Dung, Bandung, Bang Dung Conference. You look that up, that's an Afro-Asia conference. All the little countries in Asia that had black people. Who else you know is going around, came here for us multiple times. You see what I'm saying? Oh, I didn't even finish the part where and when he first became Ras, he sent the Ethiopian missionaries here because after that, I'm gonna go back. Excuse me, brother.
Nah, you're good. I'm in my head. I'm just like I'm picturing everything like yo.
It's a lot. You feel me? So I was telling you about the victory in 1896. So this gave him that respect. Like I said, he was still 4 at the time. When he became Ras in 1916, he sent some what they called missionaries, not missionaries, but ambassadors. He sent ambassadors over here by way of sea. He was up there in Grover Redding or Clayton Adams, one of them boys, or Webb in Chicago. See, they read that because I got the newspaper article. In the newspaper article, it said mission secret. It said Ethiopians came here on a secret mission. That's what they told us as the general population. But what they really came over here to do was renew a treaty because they had that respect in this world, and it was signed in 1904, and I think it expired in like 1914. So they was coming to renew it. And then when they came, they even said, quoted in the paper, these people walk around as princes. They yielded the flag over the White House. So the black folk, we was reading the Bible, and it said, hold on, it said princes would come by sea, and it said they'll host a flag over the house and ensign or whatever, right? So I'm just paraphrasing the scripture, but this is all the scripture they was looking at. And it was
I heard about that one, yeah.
They coming from because they had the ride out from Egypt. They came from Ethiopia and they had to ride out from Egypt. So it was like, hold on, we got ambassadors came from Egypt. These supposed to put the flag over the White House, and we trying to figure out what's going on. These black folks, you feel me? And then when they realized they was renewing the treaty, the boys went and looked up the treaty, and in the treaty they said they could do free commerce amongst the nations, this, that, and the third. And they like, hold on. They saw it as a key way to get out of Jim Crowism, for one, and they also saw it as the liberation biblically. So, and I know it's a debate there with a lot of Rastas because they say, yeah, the Rastafarites and stuff like that, they held His Majesty in a certain essence, but not in that most high essence. That kind of like more of a Jamaica thing as far as like most high. not just the king of the earth, not just the king of the land, which is debatable because like a lot of these guys, they were writing books. The Universal Black King.
I heard about that one. The Universal Black King will be rising from the west or east, something like that. They said, "Look to the east, you find your king on the west." Something I forgot that.
Marcus Garvey there.
Marcus, yeah.
One of these American brothers wrote it. There's a Universal Black King coming. So the knowledge is there because if you type Universal King right now and just Google AI, it's gonna like talk about Christ. It's gonna talk about, you know what I'm saying, like a figure, you know what I'm saying, a messianic figure. So to say that we wasn't on the messianic aspect of what His Imperial Majesty came to be in 1930 when he was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering line of the tribe of Judah, and became that actual aspect of salvation for us to have in the living. Offering us repatriation, offering us jobs, and removing us, because at that point in time, he can't just come fix everything at once.
Yeah.
But putting these things in the legislation, giving us away, these folks are stopping us from doing that. I be hearing a lot of the folks, especially, you know, a lot of folks that fight me that we American this and we American that, and I'm American. You feel me? And I know my roots, and I understand my indigeneity. You know what I'm saying? But I understand my origin. You understand? So I hear it a lot, and I understand it the way they say, dang, what that last part I was on, bro?
You said about coming, they can't fix all the problems at once. They were stopping them.
Yeah,
he sent the ambassadors.
Yes, sir. So you know they prophesied and all this at this point in time. That's 1919, 1917. This all going. He was crowned King of Kings in 1930. Okay, so this is all time where he was not. He was in Ras Tafari time at this time. 1930, he becomes Kidamawi Haile Selassie. All right, power of the Trinity, first power of the Trinity. Okay, so we understand when we break down his name, you're saying first power of the Trinity, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Lion of Judah. Okay, Lion of Judah, bear more and best of him the Goody. Okay, so we understand that once the war kicked out in 1935, this is where we have to understand that the world could have been different, because if you read the letters, there's a white woman's letters. The goal of it was to erase Ethiopia from our mouth. So when I hear my brother saying that, man, you know, he was a plant, he was this and that, he was a goal. Why would they take over the whole world, make it? Because in 1935, it was only Africa and Liberia left.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, if Liberia was still up at the time, I don't know, but I know at some point in time, that's it. The whole world's white, colonized. All right. They're gonna say, okay, we're gonna give Ethiopia, we're gonna sign a deal, we're gonna do a deal with this king, and then we're gonna start giving them Africa back, and we're gonna start giving them. I was just reading up on the Bandung conference. It said America didn't join this conference. This is a conference His Imperial Majesty spoke, an Afro-Asian conference he spoke for in the 60s in Central Asia. Right? It said America didn't join this because they were scared if they supported decolonization, that they're allies with colonizers and this, that, and the third. His Imperial Majesty ain't had to worry about that. I know we see him, well, he went to the Vatican, he did this, that, because he did what he wanted, because he was a sovereign. See, when we understand, oh, we lost our land over here in America, we lost our land here and that, we lost our sovereignty. So a sovereign being came and gave you sovereignty to establish yourself where you are. Not, you ain't had to go to Ethiopia. He gave you an aspect and a mindset, and actually, if we really was have longer in another time, we could break down the international law things that were done. Because
I was gonna get to that. Not to cut your wisdom, I was gonna get to that because I know Malcolm was doing something like that when he was traveling to different nations.
Malcolm went to Ethiopia.
Yeah, I remember.
Ethiopia after Mecca.
Yeah, it's crazy. As you saying that, that's why I'm envisioning my mom like, yo, he was doing something like that.
Come on, man. It's right by the time. That's why they want to start calling them crazy stuff. Then that's how they killed Webb. They killed Webb in Chicago. Start calling them crazy.
David Webb.
Not David Webb. Charles Webb, man. Let me find his name real quick. You can still see me on the screen?
Yeah, I can still see you.
I gotta give you this guy's name. You got Grover Wedding, Reverend Webb. What his first name is? The Star Order Ethiopia. Reverend Webb is all I can find right now for the show's sake. You feel me? Reverend Webb, W-E-B-B. But yeah, man, these boys, these is early pioneers of our history. What exactly I asked me, God?
I don't know. Malcolm was doing that. he was going around traveling to Ethiopia and parts of Africa when he was trying to
Oh
bring
yeah, I'm just saying how
the
many people got taken
European.
out being crazy. They call you Ethiopian, and you start doing that, they start calling you crazy, bro. They
Yeah,
start calling you all type of stuff. You know what I mean? They doing that right now. Dr. Biddy up in New York. You know, ancient Melchizedek priest up in New York now. You know what I'm saying? That could teach you and teach me right now, teach us and keep teaching. You know what I mean? So we have to understand that this was the original thing because we had a head. See, we similar to ants as people. If I go to an ant pile, remove the queen, what happens?
war.
The ant pile disappear almost. It's done. They die.
Yeah,
They can't thrive.
yeah, because that's
You
the
see
act
what
of
I'm
war, taking
saying?
their woman away. Yeah.
That's their head. You see what I'm saying? We have to understand as living beings, we're like that. You can't name a sport, you can't name a job, you can't name a nothing we do as a people where we don't have a head. We're beings with heads. You see what I'm saying? We have to understand that. So having a head in his imperial majesty that claimed and had descent from Solomon and Sheba, because the way they took over this world was through the papal bulls. So if you look up the doctrine of discovery, the papal bulls in the 1400s, you'll see this what gave Christopher Columbus his rights.
That's a fact.
But the papal bulls are written by the Pope, who claimed their supremacy from the primacy of Peter.
Yeah.
Peter is not of the bloodline. So his imperial majesty having the bloodline of David, putting this in legislation and giving us his seal, gave us authority over them on the international level. A lot of us don't know how to apply that. The same way if somebody got no tag right now saying he a Moor, he don't know how to apply it. You don't know how to apply that. Go take your tag off your car if you want to. And then tell, oh, I'm a Moor. You going to jail.
They're not gonna like that, but it's a fact what you're saying. I see what you're saying, man. You're going deep.
So we have to understand that. See, they erased us from this because we don't understand. We stuck in this. A lot of us, you know, we get woke, we get the UCCs. You see what I'm saying? We try to manipulate their system. You see what I'm saying? You still agreeing. I don't want to manipulate your system. I don't want a license in your system. You see what I'm saying? I don't want a license. I want sovereignty. I don't want to get licensed to get ganja. I want my ganja to be mine, just like ayahuasca belongs to them boys that do ayahuasca. Nobody come touch theirs and tell them what to do with it and how they got to sell it and lock them up for it. That's their indigenous practice. See, I don't want to be a part of your system. I want to have my own. And that's where they removed us from. And when we get back into his imperial majesty and we start understanding that his aspect to us was self-determination, being self-reliant, and having your own independence and protecting yourself from colonialism. If you name me one person that stood for that harder than him, then maybe I listen a little bit, even if we're just talking about world politics. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, even when we just stick to world politics, you got a lot of catching up to do to get to the works of his majesty.
That's a fact.
So I didn't say, and most of you see this whole communication, I'm not saying nothing about a God. You understand? Because that's the first thing. That's your God. And people get stuck right there.
Now I see where you took it, brother. I see where you took it. Like you removed all the mysticism behind it and said, "This is what the Rastafari movement did for us here in America," as you put it, was showing you how to maneuver around here by watching him. Don't get caught up in the spookism. Watch how he maneuvered. That's it.
That's it. That's what
got
we're doing.
Oh shit! You see people in the show. You see where we took it. You see where he took it. We removed all that fluff and gave it to you raw. Go ahead, God.
Yeah, it's little stuff, man. It's just we don't know about. Like, you know, when he traveled, when he did his world travels, when he came here, you know what I'm saying? It's like you go and it's like you got to do the dirty dance with the white folks because we ain't got no black president. You feel what I'm saying? So when you come here, but he always made it his business. If you look at all his tours, he coming to see us. He went to Howard. Yeah. He went to UCLA. He went to different places.
He went to Haiti. My mom told me when she was a child.
Oh yeah, when he was in Haiti, I'm just talking about where he go when he's in these places. He went to mostly all the black nations. I'm just saying it's different when you go to places like at the time Jamaica, it's got white government, and you just spend time with white folks. He wasn't on that.
Nah,
he like take me to the hood. See, if you really watch his way, see what got me on him like that. His Imperial Majesty, Kedemawe Haile Selassie like that, hard. Because like I said, it was already the mysticism, and then I just wanted to learn. But as I was learning, I'm like, everything bruh do on a level what I would do. If I was in that, because I'm in a lot of management positions and been a leader all my life. I'm the oldest son of my family. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like when I see somebody moving in that capacity to be, you see, a lot of times you see people in leadership positions in this world, and you're like, what is they doing? You're like, what was they thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
But when I started doing my research, I'm like, hold up, boy, everything, I like that. Like, why ain't no people was allowed to move like that? And
Yeah.
then you start picking up on the words. That's what I say. That's what my elder started me on, the words and the works.
Mm.
The words and the works. Because we got to get it done out here. It's good because we talk a lot. And I done been in a lot of space. I done stayed up to 7 a.m. talking. The
Yeah.
next day I was back on what I was on. Because I don't
Exactly.
have no control over myself. I'm lost out here in the world in fight or flight with no culture, no head, no unity, with none of the people that's around me. And I'm just trying to pay my bills.
That's a fact. Somebody said left a comment. Let me see what they saying over there. It's some real stuff. In order to understand him, one must study his politics. Got you.
Yes, sir.
That's a,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because every time you're going to see it. And then when you see it, you say, hold up. You hear it real quick, even if he's just saying he's placed at the League of Nations, right? You hear it, global humanity, and you kind of just, that sounds like everybody. And then right after that, you're like, okay, now he talk about me. Now he talking about me. Now he talking about me. You see
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Yeah, and this is like,
Got
you
you.
don't get that. You feel me?
Yeah, you gotta, like you said, you gotta dance with the devil and then let them
Right.
spin him around, let him
You
go.
see what I'm saying?
You know what I'm
But a
saying?
lot of
Nah.
times when you look at things the way it go, it's like people do that dance, but then they don't ever mention us specifically. Everybody else gets their chance to get mentioned. Everybody gets their chance to get something, but we just missing in the world stage when it comes to what our needs is, what's important to us, and what standards we need to have in place in order for us not to be an oppressed people.
Mm.
So
Is there a way that people here in the States can get involved with the Rastafarian movement? Must
yes,
they
sir.
go through like a similar? I know it comes for everyone differently. They must have these experiences, or they must go like a formal route with like, visiting a center. How can one become one?
It's just as easy as understanding the aspects of yourself. I would say it's as easy as, I wouldn't say as easy, but I would say it's the same process as if you wanted to be anything right now today. The process, you would have to accept it in your heart because I can't make you accept in your heart that there's prophetic biblical aspects of this king that has the bloodline of Christ that came and was the last sovereign black nation on earth that came to unite black people globally to our senses so that we would have self-determination in this days and times. That's a star king from ancient Kemet.
Talk about it. Go
I
ahead, drop
can't
that.
make you accept that. You see what I'm saying?
Drop that
When
knowledge.
you
I like
really
that.
accept that in your heart and then you recognize his politics, because then you start saying, okay, when you put some of the biblical aspects on it, and then it tell you to follow his law, and then you start looking at his law and you start seeing, okay, in certain aspects, because if you really look at the law in Ethiopia at the time, you would see how biblically aligned everything was. Because in ancient Ethiopian culture, this is all for one for all. See, that's why we say we lost from that. He is the direct receiver of God's communication to the people. He's trusted in that regard. His position, Sim Exabir, is elect of God, not elect of man. So he's elected by God to lead us and guide us. So they're being guided in an ancient way still at this time. That's why it was called an ancient isle of ancientness, because we don't have an ancient mindset like that. A lot of us trusting one man to make all our decisions is something we just can't live with. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's difficult for us to understand that, but just like the ants, that's what's leaving us lost in a certain capacity. You
Yeah,
understand?
that's true. Somebody showing love to you, brother. They happy with you, what you saying.
Yes, sir. Give thanks, Adrian. Give thanks. Yes, sir. Hell
You
yeah.
know, I definitely.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you broke that down for us, man. Like I have a different perspective of the Rastafari movement in Americas, and I'm glad that you came on here to speak about that because I see the impact. What you're saying making so much sense. And I'm gonna look up these names later on.
Yes, sir.
So it's like I don't want to catch flack for this, but I'm gonna say this respectfully.
Yes, sir.
You think that Selassie's Rastafarian influence and movement in America somehow gave some kind of birth to the Hebrew Israelites out here somehow? Because I
No.
kind of see it similar, like how they speak with the 12 tribes of Judah and all that, the 12 tribes of Israel. Are those two correlated or kind of influenced by the Rastafari movement in America?
Hebrew Israelite, I got history of them boys already being here, establishing themselves prominently in the late 1800s. And I ain't saying them boys like that. Us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Us being here and a department of us pushing that movement through the Bible. See, that's why I say the Hebrew Israelites of Harlem, see, they was one of the first ones, Rabbi Arnold Ford, they was one of the first ones on this information. Because Hebrew Israelitism ain't stop you from accepting the king of the Bible that you're reading, because you understand the ancientness. You understand the genetics and that aspect. That's why a lot of ones and ones that's in the Rastafari faith that's biblically more so in that aspect, sometimes call themselves Rastafari Israelites. You understand? Because it's the same thing. You start understanding how you all are connected in that capacity. You know what I mean? If that's, like I say, because you don't have to be. There's ancient Rasta man in the mountains right now. I don't know nothing about the Bible, but can tell you everything about life and nature and what you need to know. You see what I'm saying? And then I got brethren, you know, you got brethren that's chaplains. They recite the Bible to you now. You know what I'm saying? And they come from that compartment and that capacity. So, you know, yeah, that's why I say it's an aspect, man. And then when you look at His Imperial Majesty as a head of our faith, and then you see him go see the Sunnis, and he got his shoes off walking, and then you see him giving respect to Hinduism and their ancient cultures, and then you see him going to see the Rastafarians in Jamaica and giving the Jamaican government cigars, but giving the Rastafarians gold medals. You see what I'm saying? And spending his time in those communities. You know what I'm saying? And then when you see him do these things, going to Howard and leaving $10,000, but not doing nothing for, you know, he not really giving much to the ones that's taking him around and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So these is efforts for him to show. When he left America, he said the spectacle of his eye was the love that we showed him. That's why I say, that's why if you go to an event with your children and everybody, boy, I had a great time, and you leave, they be like, man, the best thing I had was, man, my children. You feel me?
Yeah.
We really hit a logic of some of this stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Brown versus Board of Education. We taught that in school in America. Oh, that's what gave us segregation. Look it up. They passed that law officially because His Imperial Majesty was coming over here to make a state visit in the middle of that time. You know, the Cold War and other things was going on.
Yeah.
His Imperial Majesty was coming over here for a state visit, and they said they didn't want to be embarrassed in the midst of what was happening, and went ahead and passed that law. So we don't understand how we've been affected in a certain capacity by His Imperial Majesty giving us a hand to not have these folks punching us at water fountains and putting us on trees with no punishment. Because we were just going through that 100 years ago. And when the boys came over here in 1919, when he was still Rastafari, and they asked them Ethiopians how they felt about what was going on, because they said there was a couple hangings that happened. And the Ethiopians said, we just like any hanging of any people. And hold on, I have to quote right here because I want to make sure I quote it correctly. The Ethiopians said in 1919 that came here. Dang.
No, go ahead. You drop that.
Oh man, because this for us. He said Ethiopians dislike brutality of any or burning at the stake, lynching of any nature, and other outrages held upon the African American people. Fight on, don't stop. So you got a sovereign power coming here in 1919 telling you to fight on, don't stop. That came here to renew a treaty that looked like you. So you ain't getting no power from nowhere else at that point in time, because there's nowhere else to get it from, because the whole world is a dark day. That's why I say when they came for His Imperial Majesty, it's just like they done every other black man. They annexed him. They wouldn't let him get, because Ethiopia surrounded. He couldn't get nothing from water. You see what I'm saying? So whatever they had in Ethiopia, they had to go to war with against the Roman Empire. So when you look at the bloodline of Christ, see, that's why I say I can get in all these. And then they signed this deal in 1929, the Pope, the King of Italy, and Mussolini. It was the three. However they was doing all these prophecies. I wasn't doing these prophecies. I wasn't here in 1929. So this was Americans putting all this together. Like, hold up, they were seeing all this happening. They dropped it in the Washington Post because in the revolutions they said the deadly wound to be healed. And then one of the dudes wrote an article in the Washington Post. White dude said when they did that Vatican Treaty in 1929 that Italy had healed its deadly wound. So we know it was the beast making war with the lamb. See, when you read the history of the Ethiopians, they always was known as the most just of men. This is in Herodotus, Greek historian, and what's the other dude's name? Herodotus, another Greek historian that they like to look up to all the time. When they mention Ethiopians, they say they were the favorites of the gods, most just of men. This is 2,000-3,000 years ago.
Come on, Alexander.
Nice. I can find it real quick. Herodotus and what's the other dude's name? I can find it real quick, brother.
Not Aurelius, not them.
Because the Greek historians, man, because a lot of times that's where we get most of our information from, man.
Nah, you just bust my head with that one, because now I'm thinking about when they got. You can see me looking for it when they got rid of Haile Selassie. The way he was taken out was just crazy. Like a lot of infighting took place before those end of days, and what he represented for real was a threat.
Yeah. Damn. But I mean, it was MK Ultra, man. There's a lot of stuff like that, man. But they never took him out. We never got a chance to see him. So you gotta understand the reason why they let us see Malcolm's body, the reason why they let us see Fred Hampton's body, the reason why they let us see this stuff, because they want us to see our messiah figure in corrupt form. Mm-hmm. We never got a chance to see His Imperial Majesty in corrupt form. They can say what they want to say, and like I said, that is what it is when you come to debate, and because his bones were smaller after they say years later that they choked him and all this and all that. But they were killing the royal family because they were upset. Killing the royal family because they was upset. So I'm sure if you had him and if you strangled him and you did all this, why was you killing the family looking for him? So we understand that there's a lot of stuff to that, but like I said, that's a whole nother aspect. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yo, brother, I don't know, man, but we got to bring you back here, man, through the graces of time, because there's a lot of information. Even the comment section, people are saying they learned so much. As people thought they would get like that typical generic overview of Rastafarian, and that's why we dubbed the show as Rastafarian Movement when we spoke on the phone in America. And I'm glad that people got to see a different perspective on what it did. Like, and through different avenues, Rasta influenced different kind of revolutions and resistance. And I'm glad we did it like this, man. We got to have you come back. Where can the people find you at, my brother?
You can find me anywhere at Real Water No Tap, because I am a conscious hip hop artist, an righteous hip hop artist, drop clean, real music to try to get you out of the streets, change your frequency. It's called Healing with Hip Hop. And then, of course, I do reggae. So everywhere, Real Water No Tap, even on TikTok is where I got most of my informational stuff. But Real Water No Tap. Yes, sir.
Definitely. You know what? Because we do album reviews. You got to bring the music up on here, man. We got to bring the music. Yo, brother. You got to bring the music, bro.
Do that. Definitely, American Rasta on the way. I'm trying to drop a American Rasta album to kind of give this info on beats.
Definitely. It's important. It's needed, Like a lot of information you're giving was like you're gonna have me look up some names. I'm like, I'm gonna look this up and do my research. You just filled me up with some stuff. So I appreciate that, my brother. To our viewers and listeners, don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, share this show. Some great information that the brother gave out to us, a great presentation, a lot of information that he dropped. We appreciate you for that. With that being said, we out. Ross Daniel, my brother, salute. I appreciate you, beloved. Thank you. And we out. Peace.